Hello friends, now let's start working with our next presentation about querying the file system in HDFS. So to get the querying the file system and all, we make use of the class called as file status, which is present inside the file system of our HDFS. The file status class encapsulates file system metadata for files and directories. So the metadata is nothing but the information about the files, the details, what all permissions and what are the dates, what are the log size, block size, replication, modification, time, ownership, and permission information. So all this information is got from using the file status. So let's see how exactly this works when we are working with the file status information using one program. So inside this program we can see that we are declaring one class called as show file status test. Then we are making use of one cluster called as mini DFS cluster. So we are using a in-process HDFS cluster for testing. So the cluster is already present, so we are just trying to make use of it, and we are declaring it in the form of private, and the name of the cluster is mini DFS cluster, and the cluster's object is been made use, or reference is made use in the form of cluster. We have to remember about the case sensitivity of this. Then next we are making use of the object of file system. Then we are using the setup function. So in this setup function we are using the configuration. Then we are using get property method, which is present inside the system, and we are using the test.build.data. So if this is equivalent to null, then set property test.build.data is equal, that is we are making use of temp to TMP as the property setting for the system. Then so why we are using this is because we are trying to see whether that cluster is there or not, or whatever temporary file is there, we are just trying to make use of TMP for that. So next we are making use of cluster equals to new mini DF cluster configuration 1 true and null. So configuration is the file here. Then 1 is we are trying to see the data in one node, or any one data which is present in one folder. Then we are trying to see whether it is we are using the boolean variable true to check whether means I need to make use of the file status, so I assume that it is present. Then I am making use of the null because I am not giving any path here or name of the file here. Then fs equals to cluster.filesystem, get file system. So I'll be retrieving the file system of that particular cluster. Then I'm making use of the output stream. Then I'm creating a new path direct in the dir underscore that is dir/file. Then we are trying to write content.getBytes in the form of UTF-8 format and closing the things. So when we are running this program, then what exactly happens is we are just trying to create one path called as /dir/file, and whatever is there inside that file, we are just going to retrieve that information. So we are using the next function. So in the previous function we are just trying to set the things before running our program inside the cluster. So after running down the cluster, we need to make sure that it is being closed. So for that what I do is fs.close. So the previous operation is for creating a new path and opening the cluster, and this particular path is given for shutting down the cluster. Then when we are trying to work out with the status, then we are making so that the rate of test function where we have file not found exception.class. So if the file is not found, then the exception is being thrown. Then if it is found, then I am making use of get file status and new path no such file. Then for testing the things, so this is when expected or output is not being retrieved, then this particular function will be called. Then this is the main important thing when we are trying to test the actual path. So we are just trying to make use of a function called as file status for file throws IO exception. Then we are giving the path as dir underscore that is /file. Then we are using file status stat, then getting the file status, that is the metadata of the file called as file, that is directory, so we can give the file name or the directory name here. Then we are making use of get path function to URI function, get path function to get the statistics or status of that particular file inside directory file. So if it is there, then we are retrieving the path, we are retrieving the URI, we are retrieving the path and getting the status. Then after that we are checking whether it is a directory. If it is whether it is true or false, then we are making use of asset that get length, then whether it is having the length of 7 bytes of length, then we are using get modification time, then we are using is less than or equal to system.current time millis. So we are just trying to see whether that particular file is being updated now, or we are seeing the current status of that particular file. So asset that get replication, so we are just trying to retrieve whether it is replicated once or twice. Then asset that get block size, we are retrieving the block size here. Then we are retrieving the owner of that particular size and checking whether it is owner called as Tom, and whether the group of that particular directory is supergroup, and whether the permission is RW, that is read, write, and all these are nothing but the file permissions. So that is for the file. So similarly we can get the status for directory as well. So in the directory also we are making use of the same statements as we have used for the file, like a get path, get that is URI, get path is dir, get length, get modification time, and so on, and a block size, owner, and so on. So the previous situation was for working with the file, and this is for directory. So this particular function retrieves the information about the file, and this particular function retrieves the information about the directory. Okay, so there are some other functions called as list status methods, which are going to list the files, or file status will be retrieved, and the status will be retrieved for the particular file when we are giving the path. So some of the functions we can see all of these functions are same, and only thing is they are being overloaded. So first we need to give we are giving only path here, and we are giving something called as path filter, where we can filter the paths by giving some extra options along with the command line argument. Then here we are giving the for multiple files, and here also we are giving for multiple files. So this is for single file and this is for multiple files. So for the collection of paths, so as I've said, we can get it for multiple paths. So I'm giving the multiple paths, and I'm providing the paths in the form of command line arguments. So I'm making use of PATH, that is path args of I. So I'm just retrieving the command line arguments, and depending upon that I'm retrieving the file status functions or file status metadata. So when I'm running this particular program, I'm getting localhost user, this is outer super directory. Then inside that I'm having Tom, inside that I'm having books, and inside the Tom itself I'm having one more file called as concol.txt. So similarly we have file patterns. So how to retrieve the file patterns and file status? So most of the times path is or get the status is not sufficient, so we may not be knowing what type of file it is, what are the characters present inside that. So in that situations we may make use of the wildcard characters. So using of the wildcard characters is called as globbing. So here we are making use of glob status, and we give the path, and we just give the path pattern by making use of the wildcard characters. So the wildcard characters can be asterisk, then question mark. So we already know how exactly these things are going to work for asterisk and question mark. So even for the searching also we make use of asterisk and question mark. Where question mark matches a single character, asterisk matches 0 or more characters. When we are making use of A, B in the form of square brackets, then it is a character class, so which matches a single character inside the set A and B. And here this is the opposite of this, so matches a single character that is not in the set AB. Then this is for range, and this is for which is not inside the range, and this is for matches either A or B, and this is escaped character, so matches character C when it is a meta character. So we can see some of the examples. When I make use of star slash, then I am getting 2007, 2008 star slash slash star. Then we are getting 2007, 12, 2008, 1. So we can see the star. If I am using slash here, I am getting 2007, 12. I am using slash, then 2008, 01. So similarly here, if I am using slash star, will retrieve me 2007. Then I am using 12 also here. So it means that it is going to get the things which are there inside the 12th month. And here it retrieves only the year. Here it retrieves the year in the form of 2007 to 8 range, and here also 2007 to 8 range. Means 7 and 8, it retrieves the information whether it is there or not. Then here it is the range, and here it is the exclusive range, whether the element is the one which is not present inside the list will be retrieved. And here we are trying to make use of 31,01. These are the dates. So slash star will give me the year, slash star will give me the month, then slash we are using the month, and for month we are checking whether 31 and 1 is present or not, so we are retrieving it in this fashion. Similarly, we can check it for single digit also using 0 and 1, where we are getting the information. And similarly, if I want to retrieve 12, 31, 0, 1, 1 along with the year, then I'm retrieving the information like this. So the list status and glob status methods of file system take an optional called as path filter, which allow something called as filters. So we can do it by making use of an interface called as path filter, and we can accept the path in the form of path. So this comes from java.io.fileFilter class. Then a path filter for excluding paths that match a regular expression. So regular expression, we already know what is regular expression. So we are giving the regular expression in the form of text, in the form of string, and this dot regex equals to regex. So this is implementation of the path filter, and here I am trying to make use of the implementation of the function called as accept. So I am returning not path dot to string dot matches regex. So we are trying to check out whether that string is matching to this or not. Then next, for deleting the files or directories inside the functions, we just make use of a function called as delete, where we give the path as f, and we give boolean variable in the form of true or false, and this recursive value, if I set it to true, then recursively it deletes all the files and folders inside the particular folder. If I set it to false, then it deletes only the current folder, or I can say it will ask for the confirmation of whether I have to delete inside the folder or not. So next topic what we are going to discuss will be data flow, which I will be dealing in our next session. So this is how we are going to work with the metadata of our file status, along with the directories, along with the files, and we are making use of the three important functions called as list status. Then we are making use of the path filter, then we are making use of globs. So all these things are useful whenever we are trying to retrieve the information from the file system. Okay, thank you.